Hello everyone, I hope this video finds you well. I hope everyone is staying positive and making the best of our current reality that we are living in and doing the best you can to stay positive and to continue to grow. This week we have the second chapter of Pirkei Avos, of Ethics of Our Fathers, and I would like to focus on the very last Mishna, the first line though, of that last Mishna here in the second chapter. The Mishna reads as follows. Hu haya omer, he used to say, that's referring to Rabbi Nitekman, who was the author of the previous Mishnah. So he used to say, Loi alecha hamalacha ligmar, it is not up to you to finish the job, v'loi ata ben chayrin lehibatel mimena, and you are not free to absolve yourself or to remove yourself from that job, from that responsibility. Now this is a very deep concept and very far-reaching. We all have jobs in life. Lots and lots of different jobs. We have a job to ourselves as a responsibility. We have jobs as Jews and our responsibilities to Hashem. We have jobs as human beings and our responsibilities to each other. We have a job as a spouse. We have a job as a parent. We have a job as a child. All of these different responsibilities are our jobs, and they make up the focus of our lives. Because everything that we do in life is because of one of those jobs. And oftentimes, things might not turn out the way we expect them to. We may try, we may put in the effort, and somehow things don't work out the way we wanted them to. So our Mishnah is telling us that that is absolutely correct, because it's not up to you to finish the job. What that means is that every single job that we have, we can only do what we can do. But what happens because of what we do is not in our control. So if we're talking about a circumstance that is dealing with other people, then we can do the best we can, but that doesn't mean that the outcome is going to be what we expect it to be, because there are other people who are also involved, who can affect the outcome. If it comes to our doing something for ourselves, then too, even if we do our best and we make all the efforts that we need to make, that doesn't mean that it's going to turn out the way we want it to turn out, because Hashem is ultimately going to decide how it's going to turn out and what the outcome is going to be. And everything that we go through in life, all of the different responsibilities, all the different projects, all the efforts we put in, all of these things are all judged and governed by this statement here of Rabbi Nitekman, that we have to recognize that as much as we're going to try, and as much as we're going to put in the effort, and as much as we're going to do our best, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to be able to finish it. But if we don't, it's not because of our lack of trying. It's not because it's our fault. It's because it's out of our hands after we've done what we could do. And as the same way we understand that, the same is also true for things that do work out. The same way if I put in the effort and things still don't work out, I understand that there was nothing I could do. I did the best I could, and it just didn't work out because Hashem didn't want it to. We have to realize that the same is true the other way around also. If I put in all my effort and I do the best I can and it does work out, I need to recognize that that's also not because of me, but that's because that is the outcome that Hashem wanted to happen. Just as easily, Hashem could have had it happen the other way and it did not turn out, and that we understood. So the same thing, when it does work out, we have to recognize that's also not our doing, but it is Hashem's doing, and we've done all we could do. Now, at the same time, it is not within our ability, being a responsible Jew, to absolve ourselves in the middle of a job. If we've got a job to do, we've got to stick to it. We've got to do our best. We've got to put in our best effort. Because if we don't, then we are in contradiction to the second line of our Mishnah, in violation, I should say, and that is that we are not free to absolve ourselves from these jobs. If we are in a situation of as an employee, it's our job to do what our employer expects of us. And we understand that. And it's the same thing when it comes to interpersonal relationships. As a spouse, you have a job. And what is expected of you from that job, you are not free to absolve yourself from. You can't walk away from that. It is your responsibility. You have parents, it is your responsibility to fulfill all of the requirements of children to parents. If you are a parent, then you have a whole set of responsibilities to your children. All of these things are our responsibilities, and we need to take them seriously, and we are not free to simply walk away from them and decide it's not our jobs anymore, no different than as an employee, that you couldn't simply walk away from it. But these two things need to be balanced. We have to understand that we need to do the best we can do. We also have to understand that what ends up happening because of what we do is not within our control, and that's not what's expected of us. What's expected of us is only to do what we can do. In light of this, I think it is very important to address a certain personality that has been going around and infiltrating in different people's minds, and a certain feeling of fear of everything that's going on in the world right now. Fear what's going to be with the economy, fear of what's going to be with all the rioting, fear of safety because of the virus, and all of these. There's a lot of fear because of all of these situations that are going on in life. And I would like to share with you an excerpt from the Mesilas Yesharim, The Path of the Just. It is extremely poignant. It talks right to this point, and I would like to share it with you. And I will just read it in English here as I translated it. It's not a direct translation, but it's the ideas. It's paraphrased. So Mesilas Yesharim is discussing the idea of Zerizus. Zerizus means the energy, the enthusiasm that we're supposed to approach life with, and especially our service to Hashem, Torah, and mitzvos, etc. And he is now discussing things that cause potentially a loss to Zerizus, to our ability to act on life with energy and enthusiasm and zeal. And it says as follows: another factor that will lead to a loss of Zerizus is too much fear and dread from the things that are happening around us. Fear of cold or heat, or accidents, or illness, or wind and storms, and all of the things that happen around us. About this, King Solomon said, "The lazy one says, there is a lion on the road." And obviously, he's making that up. There isn't necessarily one, but he's afraid that there is going to be one. Our sages have already criticized this trait of excessive fear and have associated it with sin. They brought scriptural support from the verse that states, "The sinners of Zion were afraid, and the wicked were gripped with fear." One of the great sages called his student a sinner when he found him to be filled with fear. Rather, this is the path that Hashem wants from us. Trust in Hashem and do good. Dwell in the land and be sustained by faith. That verse is what he is saying is the goal for our path in life. And he continues, in short, the person needs to make his focus on worldly matters secondary, and his focus on his service to Hashem primary. We should be content with everything Hashem gives us and take from what comes our way. Distance yourself from the easy life and prepare to work and toil. In your heart, be secure in your trust in Hashem and do not fear what time may bring. Perhaps you will ask, says the Mesilas Yesharim, we find that our sages require us to always protect ourselves carefully and never put ourselves in harm's way, even for one who is righteous and full of good deeds. The Talmud tells us that everything comes from heaven except for illness that we bring upon ourselves. The verse states, "And you shall guard your lives very carefully." And our sages teach us that this is true even when performing a mitzvah. So we see, Mesilas Yesharim continues, that we are not supposed to simply rely on our faith in Hashem at all times. We see here that there are clearly responsibilities for us to take care of ourselves. The Mesilas Yesharim answers as follows: know that there is fear and there is fear. There is a fear that is appropriate and there is a fear that is foolish. There is faith and there is carelessness. For Hashem has created mankind with proper intelligence and reasoning in order to guide him to live life the proper path and guard himself from dangers that were created to punish the wicked. One who chooses not to live with wisdom and willingly places himself in danger, he is not living with faith, he is living carelessly. And it is a sin to live that way, which is against the will of Hashem, who wants him to take care of himself. One who does live carelessly is not only in danger because of the situation that he puts himself into, but he is also sinning, and that itself is reason enough for him to be punished by the very danger that he put himself into. However, proper care and proper fear that is based on wisdom and knowledge, that is the appropriate fear, about which it says, the wise man sees evil and hides, and the foolish pass through it and are punished. Foolish fear is the fear that causes one to be overprotective. That is the fear upon fear, and protection upon protection. This leads to neglect of Torah study and service of Hashem. And the Mesilas Yesharim goes on and he discusses details and outlooks of how to recognize what is appropriate precaution and what is going beyond appropriate precaution. So we have to understand that there is always a balance that we need to live with. There is a balance between bitachon, faith, and hishtadlus, doing our part, being responsible. Hashem put us in this world to live in the natural world, and He told us we need to take care of ourselves. But at the same time, we have to recognize what our Mishna says. You only do what you can do, what you are responsible for, that much you do. What happens after that is out of your control. And therefore, we need to take the appropriate steps to be careful. We should not put ourselves in harm's way, for certain, and we need to do what is expected of us. But the bottom line result that comes from that, whether it be for the good or for the bad, is up to Hashem. It's not up to us. And we need to properly appreciate that. And we need to be able to incorporate this concept into every moment of our lives and always make sure that we are being responsible for ourselves, for those around us, but also we always have to live with faith and recognize, Loi alecha hamalacha ligmar, it's not up to you to finish the job. Loi ata ben chayrin lihibatal mimena, and nor are we able to absolve ourselves from that job. We need to do our part, but we have to live with faith that Hashem is going to do the rest. So it is our hope and prayer that all of us can strike this balance of the Mesilas Yesharim, that of our Reb Tarfon is telling us over here, and be able to live our lives comfortably with happiness and a sense of fulfillment when we are knowing that we are living our lives the way Hashem intended them to be lived. Have a wonderful Shabbat.